A police officer knocks on your door. He looks you in the eye and says, "We need to come inside." And you freeze. Because you don't know if you have to let him in. Most people just, "Hey, step aside." And the moment they do, everything changes. What if I told you that one word, just one, could have protected them completely? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to say, exactly what to do, and exactly where your rights begin and end when a police officer shows up at your front door. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Your home, your house, your apartment, even your rented room is the most protected space you have under the United States Constitution. More protected than your car, more protected than your phone, more protected than almost anything else the law recognizes. And yet, every single day, people across this country open that door, step back, and unknowingly hand over that protection. It's not because they're criminals, not because they did anything wrong, but simply because they didn't know. Today, we're going to follow the story of one man, a regular guy, living a regular life in Ohio, who made that exact mistake. And the fallout from that one moment at his front door cost him something he can never get back. I'm David Hanna, and this is Courtroom Secrets. Let's get into it. Before I take you into this story, full transparency, this is a fictional scenario, but man, this is important. Every single law, every constitutional right, village, every legal principle you're about to hear is 100% real United States law. I'll list every reference at the end of this video. This story is designed to show you exactly how these situations play out in real life. Now, meet Marcus Webb, 34 years old, warehouse supervisor. Lives alone in a modest 2-bedroom house in Columbus, Ohio. He works nights, coaches Little League on weekends, calls his mom every Sunday. By every measure, good man living a quiet life. One Thursday evening in February, Marcus gets home from a double shift. It's almost 11 p.m. He's exhausted. He kicks off his boots, throws his jacket on the couch, and he's about to heat up some leftover chili when 3 sharp knocks at the front door. 3 knocks. That's all it took to change everything. Marcus opens the door. Standing on his porch are 2 officers from the Columbus Police Department. One is calm, one is already looking past Marcus, scanning the living room behind him. The calmer officer speaks first. Sir, we received a call about a disturbance at this address. Mind if we come in and take a look around? And Marcus blinks. He's tired. He hasn't done anything wrong, and he's been raised, like most of us were, to cooperate with police, to be respectful, to not make things difficult. So he does what most people do. He steps aside. He says, "Sure, go ahead." And just like that, his home is no longer protected. The officers walk in. They're professional, polite even. They look around the living room. They move toward the hallway. Marcus follows, confused, asking what the disturbance was. The officer is vague. "Just following up on a call, sir. Won't take long, sir." Now, here's where it gets complicated. Because in Marcus's spare bedroom, the one he uses as a storage room, there's a lockbox on the shelf. Nothing illegal inside. Legal firearm. Registered, properly stored. But next to the lockbox, in plain view, there's a small digital scale. The kind people use for portioning food, for shipping packages, for 100 different everyday reasons. The officer sees it, and now a simple welfare check has become something else entirely. Marcus is asked to explain the scale. He does, calmly, honestly. But the moment those officers saw it in plain view, in freak, bro, kitty, you're inside a home they were legally allowed to enter because Marcus let them in. Everything that followed became admissible. The lockbox, questions about the firearm, a search that expanded from one room to the next. 3 hours later, Marcus is sitting in his own kitchen, watching officers go through his belongings, wondering how a Thursday night at home turned into this. Nothing illegal was ever found. Marcus was never charged with anything. But here's what haunts him, what still keeps him up some nights. He didn't have to let them in. He had every legal right to say no, and he never knew. Let's talk about the law, because this is where it gets really important. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. And the courts have interpreted this to mean one very powerful thing. Cool. Your home is your castle. That phrase actually comes from Old English common law, and America adopted it hard. Here's what this means in plain English. A police officer cannot enter your home without one of three things. Number one, a valid search warrant signed by a judge. Number two, a valid arrest warrant for someone inside the home. Or number three, your voluntary consent. That third one, that's the dangerous one, because consent is a door that swings wide open, and once you open it, it's very hard to close. Now, I know what you're thinking. David, what about emergencies? What if there's a fire? What if someone is screaming inside? Good question. And the law has an answer for that. It's called the exigent circumstances exception. This means that if police have a genuine reason to believe that someone inside is in immediate danger, or that evidence is actively being destroyed, they can enter without a warrant. But, and this is critical, that exception has to be real, it has to be documented, and it gets reviewed by a judge after the fact. Officers cannot just claim it casually. There's also something called the Plain View Doctrine. This is what affected Marcus. Once you consent to entry, or once officers are legally inside for any valid reason, anything they can see in plain sight can be used against you. They don't need a separate warrant to act on what's visible right in front of them. And here's a case the Supreme Court of the United States actually ruled on. Ayton versus New York, decided in 1980. The court held that police need a warrant to enter a home to make an arrest, absent consent or exigent circumstances. That ruling still stands today. Your home has the highest level of Fourth Amendment protection of any space you occupy. Another case, Schneckloth versus Bustamante, 1973. The court ruled that consent to search is valid, even if the person wasn't told they had the right to refuse. Meaning that police don't have to tell you that you can say no. It is your responsibility to know that you can. That's why this channel exists. That's why we're having this conversation right now. Real quick, if you're learning something here that you genuinely didn't know before, do me a favor and drop a like on this video. I know it sounds small, but it tells YouTube that this information matters. Puts this video in front of people who might need it even more than you do. We're trying to make legal knowledge accessible to everyone, not just people who can afford a lawyer. So that like button actually means something. Thank you. Now here's the part of Marcus's story that I want you to sit with for a moment. When Marcus finally talked to an attorney a few days after that night, she asked him one question. She said, "Did they have a warrant?" Marcus said no. She said, "Did you let them in?" He said yes. She leaned back and she said, "Then legally, they did nothing wrong." Sure. That hit Marcus hard because he realized the protection was always there. The Constitution had his back from the beginning. But rights don't protect you automatically. You have to actually invoke them. You have to actually use them. A right you don't exercise is a right that disappears in the moment you need it most. And here's the twist that surprised even Marcus's attorney. When she reviewed the incident more closely, she found that the initial call about a disturbance at that address, it was a misdial. A neighbor had accidentally called the wrong address. There was no complaint about Marcus, no reported issue, no legitimate reason those officers were at his door that night. Beyond a clerical error, the system didn't fail Marcus. Marcus, through no fault of his own, just didn't know he could say no. Okay, this is the part I know you came for. If you are standing at your front door and a police officer asks to come in, here is what you can legally do. And I want to be clear, Everything I'm about to say is legal, ethical, and within your rights as an American citizen. Step 1, stay calm. Open the door, but stand in the doorway. You don't have to invite them in. You don't have to block them aggressively. Just remain in the doorway. Step 2, ask one simple question. Do you have a warrant? If they say yes, saying you're gay, ask to see it through the door or the window before opening wider. Read it. Make sure it has your correct address on it. Make sure it's signed by a judge. Step 3, if they do not have a warrant, you have the legal right to say this exact phrase. I do not consent to a search of my home. Say it clearly. Say it calmly. You are not being rude. You are not being suspicious. You are exercising a constitutional right that every American has. Step 4, if they say it's an emergency and they need to come in, do not physically stop them. Do not touch them. Do not block them. But verbally, clearly state, I do not consent. This matters for what happens in court later. Step 5, do not answer questions without an attorney present. You can say politely, I'd like to speak with an attorney before I answer any questions, or that is your Fifth Amendment right, and it cannot be used against you. Step 6, remember everything you can. Names, badge numbers, time, what was said. Write it down the moment they leave. That information matters. And I want to say this clearly one more time. Knowing your rights is not about being anti-police. It's not about having something to hide. It is about understanding the system that was designed to protect you, using it correctly when it matters most. If this video opened your eyes even a little, please subscribe to Courtroom Secrets, because this is exactly what we do here. We take real law, real situations, and we break it down so that regular people like Marcus, people like you and me, actually understand what protection they have. What you don't know about the law can cost you, and I don't want that for anyone watching this. And drop a comment below. Tell me, did you know you could legally refuse police entry before watching this video? I genuinely read the comments and I want to know, because your answer tells me a lot about how much work we still have to do together. Marcus Webb never forgot that Thursday night in February, not because anything terrible happened to him, but because he stood in his own home, and felt completely powerless. And the worst part, that feeling wasn't based on reality. The power was always his. He just never knew it. The Constitution wasn't written for lawyers. It wasn't written for courtrooms. It was written for the person standing in a doorway at 11 p.m., exhausted, confused, and unsure of what they're allowed to do. It was written for you. Know your rights, not to fight the system, but to work within it, the way it was always meant to work. I'm David Hanna. Thank you for spending this time with me. Stay informed, stay protected, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and before you go, in the next video, I'm going to tell you about a case where a man was completely innocent, and he still went to prison. Not because of what he did, but because of what he said. 3 words, that's all it took. You don't want to miss that one.